Blessed Tuesday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And we are in Acts chapter 19. Now, yesterday we talked about Paul giving the good example of the Macedonians. And part of what Paul did in his travel journey was to highlight what it was to be a Christian, to live in a freedom. But sometimes that freedom would have a challenge in the places that Paul went. And so, right in the middle of his travels, he did have the freedom to challenge a lot of the gods and goddesses of the towns he went in, showing them that there is a better way of faith in Jesus Christ. And sometimes that would challenge the status quo of the place. And so here in Acts 19, 21 through 27, we read Luke's account of Paul's travel. Now after these things had been accomplished, Paul resolved in the Spirit to go through Macedonia and Achaia, those are part of Greece, and there to go into Jerusalem from there. He said, after I have gone there, I must also see Rome, because that's where the emperor was. So he sent two of his helpers, Timothy and Erastus, to Macedonia, while he himself stayed some time longer in Asia. When they say Asia, he's typically meaning Turkey. That area used to be called strictly Asia. About that time, no little disturbance broke out concerning the way. A man named Demetrius, a silversmith who had made silver shrines to Artemis, brought no little business to the artisans. These he gathered together with the workers of the same trade and said, Men, you know that we get our wealth from this business. You also see and hear that not only in Ephesus, but also in the whole of Asia, this Paul has persuaded and drawn away a considerable number of people by saying that the gods made the hands are not gods. And there is a danger not only in this trade of ours may come to a disrepute, but also that the temple and the great goddess Artemis will be scorned, and she will be deprived of her majesty, and brought all of Asia and the world to worship her. Now we're going to stop right there today because we have to ask the question, what happens if your good news becomes bad news for others? Earlier on this year, we had a passage where Paul had cast out a demon out of a girl who had practiced divination and had made her owners very wealthy. Well, Paul set that girl free from those demons. But it also meant that the business that these men had invested in, the person that they invested in, was not going to make them any money. Now, I've heard that there have been some famous people, when they accepted Jesus or became Christian, they stopped doing their contracted obligations if they're in an entertainment industry. And sometimes that meant that they had to fulfill the contract, but they did it very reluctantly. And they didn't help their investors who believed in them and all of a sudden said, I want no more. I want to be set free from these obligations. Now, any Christian can go through that, both great and small. But the question will be, is what you're going to be stronger than the things that make the world go round, such as the economics? And these men were silversmiths in our story today, and they made their money by making statues of the god or goddess of the town that they belonged to, and that would bring in revenue. My mom came from Mitchell, South Dakota. It would be as if I went in front of the Corn Palace and told them not to buy any more of the trinkets or the swag and all the other things that they sell there. It would be against God if I said something like that, and people would say, well, you're ruining our business. And that's exactly kind of what Paul is doing. He's ruining the business that would bring in money to the town, to the place that he found himself. And the question will be, will Paul accede to economic concerns, or will he encourage finding truth in the gospel, truth in the freedom of Jesus Christ? A few weeks ago, we even had the story of a man who was full of demons in the cemetery. He was almost the scapegoat of the country. And the demons asked Jesus, "Don't send us to the abyss, send us to the hog people." And once they went in the hogs threw themselves over the cliff. And the people asked Jesus to leave. They wanted to have their economic security rather than their gospel security. And that is a question we need to ask ourselves. Is doing the right thing always the right thing? Is it when it challenges our resources, challenges our ways of living, or is it encouraging us to look at doing something else? I'm not here to tell you exactly what is just and what is unjust. But I'm also here not to tell you that God is telling you to keep on doing the things that make money or to find something new to do. What God is showing through all of these upheavals is to trust in God and God alone, and to not trust into the things that are not of God, the resources of man, the resources that go against what God has done for us in Jesus Christ. And that's what we have in this passage. Paul is choosing God, and the people might be persecuting him, but Paul is going to trust that God is going to protect him and save him. And that, my friends, is the best. We are living in a lot of economic upheaval. We're living in a lot of political upheaval, even religious upheaval. And people are asking, where do we go? What foundation do we rely on? And Paul is showing us that even in tough times, where Paul is about ready to be arrested, we're going to hear that tomorrow, Paul decides on God. And the people are confronted with their idols that they had made for Artemis, that had made them money, and Paul is challenging that. Are they going to choose the idol, or are they going to choose the living God? And the question remains for us today. What are the idols that God is challenging you to? Are they politics? Are they nationalism? Trust in one's country above all else. There's one thing greater than nationalism. There's one thing greater than the economy, and that is Jesus Christ. In God we trust. It has it on our money. Are we going to put our trust in the living God? Or are we going to put our trust in the things of man? God bless you today. We trust that these are encouraging words, and we pray that as we continue in our stories of Paul, we're going to hear a little bit about the prophet Jeremiah at the end of the week, but these are examples of what it means to be a revolutionary Christian, to trust in God above all else. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.